Self-reference has shaped some of the most decisive turning points in modern science and philosophy. In logic, mathematics, computation, cybernetics, and physics, self-reference has repeatedly exposed structural boundaries of formal systems and conceptual frameworks. Gödel demonstrated that any sufficiently powerful formal system contains statements that refer to their own unprovability. Self-reference revealed incompleteness. Alfred Tarski showed that truth cannot consistently be defined within the same language without generating paradox. The solution was hierarchy, meta-levels replacing circularity. Alan Turing proved that no universal algorithm can decide for every possible program whether it halts. Self-reference generated computational undecidability. Alonzo Church and William Lawver formalized fixed-point theorems. These fixed-point results show that self-reference is structurally inevitable in sufficiently expressive systems. George Spencer Brown described distinction and re-entry, where a form enters itself. In second-order cybernetics, Heinz von Foerster emphasized the observer observing himself observing. Humberto Maturana and Francisco Varela introduced autopoiesis, systems that reproduce and maintain themselves through operational closure. In physics, John Archibald Wheeler proposed the participatory universe, suggesting that observation plays a constitutive role. Carlo Rovelli developed relational quantum mechanics, dissolving observer-independent absolute states. Across these approaches, self-reference appears as a boundary of formal closure, a source of paradox, a recursive structure, a condition of relationality. In nearly all cases, self-reference marks a limit. The self-referential oppositional theory, SrGT, proposes a different interpretation. Self-reference is not primarily a boundary phenomenon. It is not primarily linguistic. It is not primarily recursive. It is not a meta-level escape. In SrGT, self-reference is a structural identity operator grounded in opposition. Identity does not arise from internal completeness. Identity arises from structured tension between self and non-self. In the notation of SrGT, +1n designates the instantaneous spatial subject without internal differentiation, whilst 1n designates identity as infinite differentiation between self and non-self. Identity is not sameness. Identity is structured opposition. This distinction is essential. Gödel shows that formal systems cannot internally complete themselves. SrGT shifts the perspective. Identity does not depend on proof completeness. It depends on oppositional coupling. Tarski resolves paradox through hierarchy. SrGT resolves closure through cyclic structural transformation, not by leaving the system, but by structured return. Turing demonstrates universal undecidability. SrGT does not eliminate undecidability universally. Instead, it proposes domain-specific structural determinacy based on operator architecture. Spencer Brown models re-entry symbolically. SrGT models opposition structurally and dimensionally. Von Foerster, Maturana, and Varela emphasize operational closure in living systems. SrGT generalizes closure beyond biology into dimensional structure. Wheeler and Rovelli emphasize relationality. SrGT affirms relationality, but specifies that relation is oppositional and identity-generating. The distinct claim of SrGT is therefore not the introduction of a new force, particle, or constant. It is a structural repositioning. Self-reference, when grounded in oppositional identity, becomes generative rather than limiting. If identity is structurally generated through opposition, then stability is not accidental. And if stability is not accidental, then measurable structure must emerge. This has direct consequences. Space cannot be assumed as a container. Time cannot be assumed as a background parameter. They must arise from identity stabilization processes. The next episode therefore turns to a fundamental physical question. What is space? if it is not a container, but a stabilized projection of identity. Thank you for your attention.